Meeting of the St. John Waterworks District to order. Please call roll.
Jim Zarnik.
Present.
Joan McInerney.
Present.
Ken Gambala.
Present.
Joseph Wizawati.
Present.
Wayne Pondinas.
Present.
We have the January 17th regular meeting minutes to approve. Are there any corrections or additions to the minutes?
No, I had none.
And I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make the motion.
A motion to approve the minutes. Is there a second?
I will second.
All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carried. All right, I see we have, again, the post office. So, was this just the Lake Central Board, the Lake Central bills?
That's correct.
They did this one time, it was a couple of hundred people that didn't get bills. So we're just dealing right now just with Lake Central, as far as penalty.
This is just for the Lake Central, for the late fees to be waived. And this was, I guess, for the January billing.
Okay. All right, I guess it's recommended by the clerk and the town manager that we waive the penalties because they apparently never received the bills.
Yeah, if we could just put this part of the motion for the $126.11.
Any discussion? It's not a motion to waive the $126.11 in penalty.
Yeah, I will make a motion to waive the Lake Central High School School Corporation penalties of $126.11.
Second.
Second, motion and a second. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carried. You, Joe, do you take care of this then?
Yeah, we'll send a copy of that over to the clerk's office.
All right, I'll skip old business because we're going to probably cover that in our joint updates on the joint meeting study session. So, any special reports or correspondence for the Water District? None? Okay. Anything special from the town? Wayne?
Yeah, today I was in receipt of estimate for doing the water towers, washing the water towers. Kilkenny is really dirty, and they say the other ones are. I made copies for each of you. There's another company that wants to bid on it, I think. So you guys can look at this, and hopefully they'll get me the other one soon, maybe in a couple of days. That's something for you guys to look at.
Thanks, Wayne.
Thank you.
We'll take this under advisement to review for the next meeting.
And I'll try and ask the person, that gave me that, whether or not we can get that expedited a little bit.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything from the town manager for this board?
No, not tonight.
One other thing, Kenny, the SCADA system is just about done. They're just tweaking some things, and they gave out some more schooling to some of the guys, so it's just about there.
Is it performing the way we thought?
Yeah, I think it's doing real good, but
Good. All right.
So, I'm sorry. So Wayne, on the review that was done by Robinson, there were like probably, I think, 5 or 6 gap areas that were identified that still needed to be done. And I was just wondering, like, are those, when you say it's almost done, is it?
well, I talked to Matt today, and Matt said that the guy that he has doing that, Pat, he's the one that helped design it. He said they're just, everything's just about ironed out. And I don't know if Robinson has to go through that again to make sure, but they held back on the money. So back in maybe September of October of last year, Matt from Austrian Electric said, hey, we're going ahead of the game here. We'll probably be finished. So they volunteered not to get paid. If you look on your, I think it's on this, your docket, where it shows Austrian Electric. I don't know if it's on this one. It should be. But it'll say wastewater 11, wastewater 10. that is the payments. There was 12 payments. And I looked at it on my phone, so I think it's on here, but it's almost done. It's just a matter of, I could have had Matt here to explain it, but I figured I didn't want to waste his time.
So there were.
Here's
there
the
were
thing, I
five-
mean, I think it would be a good idea to have Matt come to a meeting.
Yeah, I mean, we can
have
do that. If you want to
discussion.
do that, that's fine.
Yeah, because I'm just referring to, so the document that we received from Robinson Engineering on January 23rd or 24th had 5 gap areas that were identified. Like the operations and maintenance manuals still needed to be provided. The spare part list and inventory needed to be provided. Some initial training was identified as completed, but that we needed additional training in the training manuals. Custom programming, so there was testing, field testing that needed to be completed and then signed off by the town personnel. And then there was some discussion in the document about the Verizon contract, that it was a 10-year agreement that was signed, and what implications that has on our ability, because I know, Jason, like, there's been discussion about running fiber optics under, when we do this work at 93rd and 41, wanting to run fiber optics there so that we could take out some of the Verizon requirements that we have for some of the lift stations and towers, and then modem testing. So those were the 5 things that were documented in the report from Robinson, and I guess if we can get an update on where those are.
Do you want, here's a question. Do you want to have Mr. Austin come here, kind of go over all of that? Would you prefer to hold off on the payment for now, or what's your pleasure?
If I could, has Robinson reviewed these pay requests, 10 and 11?
So what we've done is that we made a recommendation to hold the retention on it. The retention is about $100,000 on it. The outstanding work came out to be about $20,000 for actual physical work in the field, and about another $70,000 on a Verizon contract. Okay, so for the actual work was 20. We said that if you withhold $100,000, we'll work everything out. The Verizon contract, we've explained this to Mr. Wizawadi that we don't know if it makes sense to have a subcontractor or a contractor holding a telecommunication deal with you for 10 years in the future. And we may want to ask them for a credit form or however they want to do it. It's up to Mr. Wizawadi how he wants to go about doing it.
Well, I mean, and
That was decided
I would
years
say
ago.
it's up to the water board.
Yeah.
This is basically their purview. So I mean, I would not make that decision without having, them make that decision.
So I guess the retention, is that over and above pay requests 10 and 11?
He submitted 100% of the bills on this, and he had
Okay.
$1.1 million.
And under the contract, there was no retainage. You might
Right.
want to point that out, too.
There was, until we got involved on it, and there was probably $330,000 being withheld, okay? And they were saying, we gotta get paid, and the town saying, we just want someone to take a look at this to make sure we got everything we paid for. And that's when we got involved on it. And we identified $20,000 of physical work that has to be done, and then this Verizon contract thing. And then that's when we came with the recommendation. The $20,000 worth of work, it's programming, it's nitpicky, it never works out just right the first time. It's kind of like you got to do a wait and see to make sure everything's moving smoothly on it. I'm not saying that Mr. Pondinas is wrong. I think we're about a month or 2 out. But we're close to the finish line. We're very, very close to the finish line. And this is normal with these complex programming jobs, that it takes a little bit to work the bugs out on it.
And I think Joan brought up the spare part list, and Matt told me that he's got a box with the spare parts, and he's ready to, that's ready to go. The training, he did talk about training today, that they did have some training. If I known that he had to be here or wanted to be here, that would be great. I would have had him come.
But even if he was here and he didn't complete it, our recommendation is not to give everything up until the project is 100% done.
Right, but I got to say kudos to Matt Austin and his company, because they realized that the project would have still been going on and it would have been paid for. So I give him kudos for saying, hey, let's stop. I don't want nobody to say that we're doing something wrong. So he did tell the town, stop the payments. So I have to give him credit for that.
Okay.
Perfect timing.
Is that a
So-
sign?
So, Jim, in your question,
Got anything else?
there should be,
Discussion.
I haven't seen this, there should, to the last final payment, should be about $110,000. And that should be retainage for $20,000 worth of physical work. Okay,
And then the other portion is the Verizon.
right.
Well, I'm just still confused. Like, how do pay requests 10 and 11? So if we approve pay requests 10 and 11, is that full payment, final payment to Austin?
Keep in mind, there's 12 invoices.
Okay.
So, yes, 10, 11 is full. No one requested retention on any previous payments until we got involved, saying it's standard practice to have a 10% retainage until the project is done.
Okay. So
And-
there's a pay request 12 that is not on the docket.
The town has that.
Right.
And what is the value of that?
The balance.
That might be
it's the
what Tom
balance.
is talking about $100,000.
And we did correct the apportionment of how that is broken down, because the way that the contract was written, it was X amount of dollars allocated to the water district, X amount of dollars to the sanitary, but they were paying it 50/50. But we corrected that in this invoice, so that way the amounts are apportioned correctly between water and sanitary. They're balanced out over the rest of the term of the contract. So the amounts that the water is paying is a little bit more than what the sanitary district's paying this time. And it's not a 50/50.
So Jim, just if you look at the total contract, 1.1 and change, I don't know what the exact number was. You divide that by 12, each invoice is equivalent to about 91,000.
Okay.
Okay, so right now, invoice 12, if it's going according, I don't know what the other invoices looked like because we weren't involved then. It should be in the 91,000, and our recommendation was a retention of about $100,000. But as a safety factor, you only have $20,000 worth of work that has to be done.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. So based on that, I would be comfortable approving the payouts of 10 and 11 because we've still got that amount that's being withheld. And then I guess a related question on the docket is that processor or OIT for $15,736. That's also associated with the SCADA contract, it looks like.
Which one is that? Where at?
It's on page,
Item number 170 on page 1 of 3.
thank you.
Page 3, you said?
About the middle of the page, page 1.
Oh, page 1, I'm sorry. Is that for a district or utility?
170, item 170.
That's for utility.
Okay. 170? And you're looking at, processor?
Yeah.
Is that the Tonka panel?
Yeah, I don't think that has anything to do with that.
Doesn't list that. Is that different?
Apparently that's for the Monix plant.
Yeah,
But in the Monix plant, they
Where's
did
this
something
one?
with the
What?
display panel. I don't know if that has anything to do with it. And I think,
It is. It's for the Tonka.
thank you.
Okay.
see, one of the things, and this is why I think it might be helpful to have Mr. Austin here, is because along the way, since we started the SCADA project, there have been a lot of things that have been incidentally discovered that I think maybe you guys need to be, made aware of. I know we got two members up here that weren't on the board, so I think it might just be helpful to kind of have them come over and give a summary of kind of what happened. So maybe we could have that at the March meeting if you guys would be agreeable to that.
We knew when we got going with it that there'd be things that we didn't realize.
Right.
Until they started working on the equipment and then realized that this should be replaced or this
Right.
should be done. So it's
So that way you guys have a-
impossible to quote something like that.
Yeah.
All inclusive.
Right, so that way you guys have a fuller understanding of what went on with the development of the SCADA system and then what progressed from the time they started till today.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and not for nothing, but I did go along with Joan on the tour of the facilities, and that was fantastic, by the way. So thank you so much to Mike and Justin. That was great. Thank you so much. But yeah, they were raving about the SCADA system. They loved it. And so it seems like they've gotten a very good product. They're very happy with the support. So I certainly want to do them right.
Yeah, so I think it would be helpful, Joe, I think we do need to have a discussion on that Verizon $70,000 10-year agreement. That, to me, seemed a little bit odd, that it was a third party sort of contracting for us and us not having the direct contract with Verizon. And then the other one for the cloud storage, I think those things warrant a separate conversation and maybe needing some guidance as far as, you know, is a 10-year contract for that sort of typical or not? That to me just seems.
Well, I don't know if
odd.
Verizon does a 10-year contract. I mean, Jason, you can kind of weigh in on that.
To speak to the Verizon contract, they were not the signatories of the contract. They had us sign it, so it is a Town of St. John account. They've just been maintaining and paying the bill while the system has been under construction using that $70,000 that has been allocated for the 10-year contract. This is when they first said it was a 10-year contract, it surprised me as well, because every time I've talked to Verizon, they will only do a 2-year contract at the maximum. So I don't know how that's going to work out. Every contact I've had in Verizon has unfortunately moved up the food chain. So I'm working with some new people, and they are also of the agreement that 2 years seems to be the maximum. Personally, at this point, I would recommend that the town not prepay for the cellular. We just bring the contract back in and we pay it month to month like we do the other cellular bills.
And that might be something he could give us a credit toward. I think it was like 75 grand or something like that. So if he gives us the credit for 75 grand, then we could just cut the remainder of the monies loose to the contractor once we've completed the contract. So that's something we'll need to talk about and figure out logistically how that's going to work. Because whether we put that in a escrow account or create a separate fund for it, and then it just pays the bill for that or something. So
I did have a conversation with Matt about this, and he did say that at the end of this, if Verizon does not have a 10-year contract, they would put it into a escrow account for it to just automatically come out of that.
And Matt is from where?
Austin Electric.
Auction electric.
Okay.
on second thought, the problem is that on second thought, the problem with that is that it's paid from a bond. So we'd probably have to pay the contractor who would give us the money, who then we could put it in. I don't know how that logistically and legally would work out, but that's something we're going to have to take a look at, because we can't just take bond money and put it in an escrow account. There's got to be a reason for it.
Plus, there's also the problem of the system was quoted at $70,000 at that point in time. We have since added a lift station, Parish Woods. That is going to draw down that escrow account faster because we have an extra lift station now coming out of that particular bill.
And were 8 and
as
9, were 8 and 9 included in that too, or no?
They were not.
Okay, so that's
So once 8
two
and 9
additional.
and the third treatment plant, they're
Yeah.
all going to deplete that money a lot faster. That's one of the reasons why I'm thinking we might want to just bring the contract back to us and just pay it month to month, or maybe a year or two at a time if you want to prepay for service, but
Okay.
whatever we do, it'll have to be documented and memorialized here, so whatever we decide on that.
Okay.
Any other questions? All right, then that brings us to payment of the bills. We have the docket for water utility for dated February 21st, 2023, for a total of $1,502,001.75. Comments?
I do have some questions. And this is just my learning curve, so please be patient. So item 572 on the second page, there are 3 items that are titled as investment purchases. Could somebody,
572 on page 2?
I
yeah.
don't see that on page.
Lake City
Like
Bank.
Bank?
Oh,
Yeah.
Lake City Bank. So
Yep.
Those are for investment, and I would imagine these are for the bond proceeds. I don't know. Kathy, are you out there? For the Lake City Bank, those are for the investment.
Right.
I'm assuming that's the bond money, right? Right. Okay. So what the clerk treasurer does is she'll do investments, either short-term, long-term investments, depending on how fast we're going to need the money. And she'll invest that money through Lake City. She shows it on the docket. It's not an expense. It's just for a matter of record.
Okay.
So it shows you that money's being invested. So anytime you see like Lake City, that's generally for those
We're
investment
allowed to do
purchases.
that. Years ago, I used to run down to the bank and do CDs all the time and kept changing.
And you'd
them.
never know.
Now
Yeah.
I got more sophisticated
Yeah.
with it, but, yeah.
It gives you more transparency, if you will, for that.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
What else?
What else?
And then page, I guess this is similar, page 3. 2104 for US Bank and the St. John.
No, those are for the payment of the principal and interest on the 2017 and 2021 bonds.
And what did we use those bonds to purchase?
2017. Wayne, do you remember what the 2017 bond issue was for? I don't recall either.
No.
To be honest with you. So the 2021, that's the current water bond that we have. So that one, actually, we still have out. And we still have monies outstanding in capital projects for that. So that one, we still have about 7 million, I think, outstanding on that in capital. So we still have projects that we got to get finished up on that.
Okay.
Yeah. One of which was the SCADA, then there's wells 8 and 9, and then there's 41 project, and then we're gonna use some of that for the Acorn project as well.
Okay,
Yeah.
makes sense.
Joe, is there a way that we could get a bond?
2017, I think that was for a refunding. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Is there a way that we can get a bond schedule?
Yeah, yeah.
To
In
see
fact,
what?
I have one for you, so
Okay.
I got all of them, but I don't care sharing everything.
That we get balances, current rates, all that kind of stuff, and what we issue them for. That would be terrific. Thank you.
There's a number of them.
And there's also continuing disclosures and stuff like that, so I can actually show you where you can find that too online.
Oh, okay. Terrific. Thank you.
Thanks. That's all I had.
Okay, so what's your flavor?
I'll make a motion to approve the accounts payable for the water utility docket.
Okay. Water utility, February 21st, there's a motion to approve. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion second. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carried. All right, that takes us to docket water district for February 21st, which is mostly payroll and NIPSCO for $20,480.87. Any questions? If not, motion.
I'll make the motion.
Yeah, motion to approve. Is there a second?
I will second.
Motion second. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carried. Any public comment for the water district? Can you please come up here and state your name? Your address.
My name is Mike Aurelio. I live at 8895 Overlook Point in St. John. I had a question on our SCADA system. I'm happy that we've had this nice discussion today. I'm trying to understand through the bidding process have a better understanding. So my understanding is that Gas Voda and Associates, they had a bid that qualified, met all the criteria of the RFP, and their bid was $375,000. In Austrian Electric, they met the same criteria for the RFP, but theirs is $1.192 million, which is an $816,000 difference. Wayne, could you explain that to me, why that was such a huge difference and why it was awarded to Austrians over Gas Voda when it all met the same
I don't know if
criteria?
it was Gas Voda, but
It was.
it was under the recommendation of our town attorney to go for a request for proposal, okay? So we had a company came out, I won't mention the company, and they said that they couldn't do this program, and it was proprietary. Proprietary means that somebody in Minnesota could be watching it, so we have to pay him to come out. Austin is right here in town, right in the next neighboring town, Griffith, and that was a better deal. So, and we had Baker Tilly tell us how we had to get the money, the bond money. They came in, and that was decided amongst all the board that was here present at that time, which they're no longer up on the board.
I'm still confused on that. So if they both met the criteria, so I know you got an RFP,
We didn't
the guy
want
with the attorney.
proprietary, Mike, I'm sorry. And
But they both met it states in the minutes that they both met the criteria. I just pulling it out of your minutes that were approved.
and I don't know if it was Gaz Boda that did that.
It was out of the minutes from the water
So
board.
and I don't know, if that was, but I'll take your word for it. But we decided, and the board decided on what to do. It didn't cost more money, and I don't know if,
It was $816,000 more.
right, okay, that's fine. But we got a better product this way, and we kept the engineering out of it because it went for a request for proposal.
I understand. So
And we all
they
went
both
through
met
that,
it.
and the operators were there, Bob Davis was part of that, and that's what they decided. Now, I'm only one person. I didn't decide all of that, but we went through all the proper channels in order to get the bond money. We had Baker Tilly come out and say, this is what you have to do. We had to do the water rates, make sure, and I was the only town councilman there, plus Bob Davis, not Bob Valois, and a couple other people. Beth was there, and we explained it to the people why we had to raise the water rates. We haven't done that in 14 years. So in order for us to get the money, we had to show that, hey, this town is going to do this to get the money in order to have the bond payments.
So going back to it, and I'll just reiterate it. So according to the minutes of the water board, both met the criteria of the RFP, which was put together by the water board. The bids were submitted. Gas Voda came in at $375,000, and Austin's came in at $1.192 million. They both met the criteria of the RFP. That's what I'm asking.
One
why
was
why was one?
proprietary.
But they both met it. They both met it.
Mike, you're going to have to ask the water operators and everybody else that was involved in that.
Could you seek an answer for me? I would love an answer to that question.
I'll try.
Okay.
There were
Thank
other,
you.
There were other issues too that came up. This went on for months to decide which contractor, and other issues that came up with track record. They're highly recommended. They put the systems into our surrounding communities. So we talked to them as far as how it operated, how well it was installed, and we didn't have to have someone come from Minnesota all the time to talk to. You know, it was all local. It was all done with local material and labor. Of course, they got equipment from somewhere else. But we knew from surrounding communities and talking to other people and recommendation of our engineer at the time that they were probably one of the better qualified ones as far as doing the system, you know, as far as getting it done, less problems. And they've also worked on the equipment that we have now in the town for years, so they understand what we have.
They installed the prior SCADA system?
If they came from Ohio and never saw St. John before.
So
what I'm saying is all these things were also, rather than just saying it's cost, there's other things involved that we wanted to make sure that this went smoothly, got done properly.
You can see why I'm asking. It's quadruple the price.
Yeah, so these things were intangible factors that went into the fact that
So quick question. How come the RFP wasn't altered then to give the other companies a chance to bid? So the RFP, they both met, and an RFP was not altered. It's an $800,000 difference. It's quadruple the price.
But you look at the price and you look what you got for the
Why was the
service.
RFP not altered? What kind of?
Everything, Mike,
Is that typical
made
practice?
where
Is that
you
typical
can buy the
practice, sir?
parts online. You don't have to go to a special place. It's set up. Every one of the boxes that's in the lift stations are all the same. So if lift station 6 is going to be taken away, that box can go put into another lift station. Lift stations 8, wells 8 and 9 are already done. There was a lot of thought process in that.
Excellent.
And it took 6 years prior to that to keep pushing for the SCADA system. We needed something, and it just was a lot of hard work, like Kenny says. There's a lot of thought in that. Our water operators, everybody.
Why wasn't a thought put into redoing the RFP and sending it out to bid again? There was $800,000 more, quadruple the price. Why wasn't the RFP at that time redone and sent out to bid? Solely, you got one bidder, looks like. One super high bidder. We had four. We had four.
We had, I can't mention names, but we had at least
We had four,
two.
but-
At least two, and I can't remember back then. But some of them people
fair
didn't
enough,
even
fair
meet the requirements. that we
Well,
wanted.
two of them did.
One came out, and we have 4 pumps in lift station 1. And they said we can only do 3. So what good is hiring that company?
No good, for sure.
I mean,
So,
really,
no doubt
I mean,
about it,
it-
right. So
but-
no doubt about it. I'm only talking about 2 that qualified for your RFP. 2 qualified. The one that qualified, the next lowest bid was 1/4 the price, $800,000 less. It qualified. You wrote an RFP, it qualified. It was a qualifying bid. Why wasn't the RFP altered? I would like to get an answer at some point to that. Could we look into that and report back to the water board and the taxpayers? I would love an answer to that question. Thank you.
Joe, is there an RFP? Can we get a look at the RFP for the 375 and for the RFP for Austin?
Yeah, I can send you all of them. There were actually, I believe, 4 bidders on that project. But I'd be happy to send all 4 to you guys.
And then did we do a sort of a criteria matrix that said,
There was,
a
there was
comparison
actually
matrix?
an RFP that was put out there. I don't believe that there was a scoring or a comparison matrix on that. I don't believe there was
Okay.
at the time, yeah. But I will send those out to you tomorrow morning.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other comment?
The only other comment that I had is, so around the monies that we were getting from the county related to the American Relief Act, I know there was some dialogue on how we would go about getting those funds and.
We've put in some requests for that. There's been some discussion among that with the county and the clerk treasurer's office as well, so.
Okay, so that's underway.
We're still moving forward with that,
Okay.
yeah.
Terrific, thank you.
Okay. Anything?
No.
All right, then, motion to adjourn.
Go ahead, Joe.
I'll make the motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor signify by aye.
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 All right, motion carried, meeting adjourned.